What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Good morning, happy Friday. Let me know if you guys can hear me and see me in the chat. How's everybody doing? Awesome. Audio, video, good, sweet. It's been a heck of a week, right? Somebody said, what are we shorting today? Yeah, just wake up and short the pops. That's the week that it's been. Caught some bangers this week. It's been a pretty big week for me, myself. If you're new to watching me trade or joining in, I primarily trade ES, sometimes NQ a bit, but primarily ES. I'm an order flow trader, so I do technical analysis based on supply and demand, support and resistance, volume profiles, all that kind of stuff. And then I analyze the order flow in real time for very high risk versus reward trades. Awesome. Good. So we're gonna get into the analysis this morning. The first thing I like to do is just kind of run through my analysis for the trading days, start developing the context of what I'm watching and building the story for kind of what's developing in the market, right? Some people call this like developing a bias for the day. I don't really look at that. I have no bias, long or short, ever, really. I'm just kind of doing my overall context analysis, where the market's at, key levels, where the volume is built, and those kind of things, and then developing kind of what if scenarios and watching the auction. And I go with what the market is telling me real time, who's in control of the tape, what levels are key, who's supporting it, and I just go with that. So, there'll be days where I'm leaning more long or leaning more short, but I don't have like a hard bias where this is what I'm looking to trade and that's it, right? So it's very much, having my speculations of what could happen and the setups that I'm watching for, and then analyzing the order flow and the auction in real time to see what develops. If you guys are not in the ChartFanatics Discord, I highly recommend joining in it. I shared my game plan for the trading session this morning. Not too much has changed from that, so I will kind of go through that here briefly, and then we'll get into the trading session. But if you go in the ChartFanatics Discord, I have a channel there. It's just Matt Owen under the CF Live, and that's where you'll see updates from me. And then all the other great traders that are a part of the CF Live as well. So if you want, I highly recommend going and checking that out and turning on notifications. So you will see that, and you will see game plans and things like that updated from me with specific levels and setups that I'm watching out for. Awesome. Already joined the Discord. We are going to have some giveaways coming up. And speaking of which, we have some really great sponsors here at ChartFanatics Live. So a huge thank you to Apex and some of the others that are on here. We have giveaways coming up today, and Funded Next, another amazing one. Check out the discount codes if you guys do use prop firms and you do use other things like that. Again, I always recommend people, if you do go that route, you treat it like real capital and you approach it with the seriousness of that. You can get a lot of leverage that way. But again, if you want that, discount codes are there. We're going to be doing some giveaways. There's a ton of work on the back end that goes to produce all the content that you see from Words of Wisdom, CF Live, ChartFanatics, all this kind of stuff. And that would only be made possible by the sponsors that are here. So they do a lot of good work to vet the best companies to work with, Prop Firm Trader being another one. So highly recommend checking those out if you are looking for that. But stay tuned. Like I said, we are going to have some giveaways coming up later in the stream. So who doesn't love free stuff? We'll get into it. We have several to go through, and I'll let you guys know when we're going to go through that a little bit later in the stream this morning. So switching over here, this is my primary screen that I share during live streams because this is my primary tool for order flow analysis. If you guys aren't familiar, this is a tool called Bookmap, and I'm watching the live tape here. There's no time frame necessarily for this. This is the live, orders as they come into the market. This is ES that I'm watching. Occasionally I'll take a look over here at NQ. And my depth of market here, the DOM, is showing me a breakdown of all of the orders that execute in the market. So you'll see at 9:30 at the bell, this will clear out, and I look at kind of fresh information after the 9:30 bell. So I'll go through the game plan here, what I'm watching out for, and then I'll take some questions here. We're in a little bit of a tricky spot where the market has already kind of broken down and extended lower in the pre-market and overnight trading. So I'm very much cautious when it comes to chasing downside moves. Over the last 2 years, more often than not, we've seen really aggressive V-shaped recoveries. So yes, I do trade shorts. I primarily trade a lot more on the long side. Just that's been the market conditions over the last 2 years. You know, I do not love chasing moves to the downside unless I get a good pop to short into, unless I see a new supply zone forming in real time, I'm able to get a part of it early. But when we start getting extended to the downside without much of a relief bounce or anything into a key area, then I look to go kind of hands off personally. That's just my own data and experience over time. So I'll snip my other charts so I don't have to rearrange things here. I do look at candle charts just for kind of overall technical analysis. And I also look at candle charts with volume profiles on things like Trade of 8 and Sierra chart. That's a great tool to add confluence to like supply and demand zones and market structure overall, adding things as simple as volume profiles. And basically, you know, I'm looking at where aggressive participants are moving the market, you know, where absorption and distribution are occurring, right? They're moving the market up or down, or where consolidation periods are happening. So when I'm going in to do my analysis every morning to start the day, the main questions that I'm trying to answer is the market expanding up or down, or is the market consolidating, right? And that's really all I'm looking to have a good feel for. If the market's expanding up or down, I'm looking to find good areas to get a part of that, either break and retest type setups or bottom or top reversal type setups. If the market is kind of transitioning from expanding up or down and into a balance period, then I start shifting to more look for mean reversions. That's, you know, kind of the two conditions that I'm looking to just analyze where the market is at, and what the context is. And then I align that with, okay, if the market is, you know, up, down, or sideways, what is the best probability locations that I can look to get involved? And then when I identify the best probability locations to get involved, then I try to stay patient and sit back and then wait for things that tell me on the order flow that other large participants are getting involved there, and I can get along with them. So let me see if I missed anything in the chat. Welcome in everybody. Welcome in. No questions yet. All right, cool. So we'll get into the analysis for the day. Let me pull up my charts here. All right, so 4-hour chart here, and you can see we've been pretty consistently making lower highs and lower lows over the last two trading weeks since we hit these last all-time highs. Pretty much every single time we've broke down, we've left areas of low volume, like low volume nodes at or around prior lows, and that's continued to play pretty much over and over again. And that's typically, you know, typical when you have a trending market. We've been trending lower, right, for the last 2 weeks. So the main things that I'm looking at is like who's in control and what's been happening over the last like 1 to 2 days, and then the last, you know, 1 to 2 weeks. Those, as a short-term trader, those kind of are the 2 periods that I'm giving the most weighting to in my trading. You can see on pretty much both of those, bears have been in control of the market. Now, one thing that I'm watching this morning is this lower trend line. This is from a daily chart. You can see it's currently around the 67, 18s, 19s. We've been struggling to get under there so far this morning. We did have this pretty aggressive selling in the pre-market here. And we had based there pretty much since yesterday afternoon. Like the majority of yesterday's move happened all just on this first 4-hour candle. This is a 4-hour chart, by the way, on ES futures. So the majority of the move happened just in that first morning session yesterday. And then since then, we built a lot of volume and consolidating sideways. We broke through that overnight again. So the main thing that I'm watching here is if we pop back up into here in this session this morning, do sellers reject this or do we reclaim back in this? If we reclaim back in this, then I could see us having kind of a weekly mean reversion, meaning like we've sold off pretty much all week. A lot of people are now short. If we find some support down here and bulls are able to show strength and recapture in this zone, then we could likely trigger just a short-term short squeeze, which could go back, into the supply area that formed this drop-based drop structure yesterday. So if that happens, if bulls manage to reclaim in this area of consolidation and show strength, I may be open to looking for long side setups, targeting just kind of like a Friday mean reversion. As if that triggers a nice short squeeze, we could, have a nice little pump up into there. However, that does seem like kind of a stretch, just given how heavy the market has been all week. It kind of seems like it would take a lot for bulls to kind of regain that much strength. But we are testing this area. Obviously, you can see we have a fair value gap here. And that just means we had this area of basing. At the time, I believe this was prior all-time highs here, and we had rejected off of it several times. And again, back earlier. And then this time we had continued to make higher lows leading up to that, and then we broke out to new all-time highs, right? So I'm watching this area because this was kind of the last area that we based and rallied out of it before pushing up to new all-time highs. So now that we've come back into there, I am kind of watching to see if this structure that we've seen so far this week shifts. I'd still be looking at that as counter trend, right? So if I'm taking a counter trend position, what does that mean? I'm just looking to be in and out relatively quick. I'm not looking to hold runners or hold like a massive, ultimate bottom reversal for, the top of everything, right? I'm still viewing it as very counter trend. So if I see a good level and I see good confirmations to take it, I'm still keeping in mind that, okay, over the last 2 weeks, this is still very counter trend. Let me take profits fast. Let me manage risk very tightly and make sure I'm doing it in a way where I'm not fighting the momentum, right? I don't want to be a first buyer. Like I want to see bulls really reclaim structure and then look for a good area to take the market long, right? For just a quick counter trend kind of reversal. Now, to the other side, if we pop back up here and sellers continue to reject like they've done all week, like every time we've broke prior day lows, we've sold off pretty aggressively like there and left an area of low volume. And then every time it's been retested, we continue to trade lower, right? That happened, here, again there, sold off here. It's possibly happening again here. So very good chance if, and this kind of already happened in the pre-market here. So I'll drop this in the ChartFanatics Discord if you guys want to see kind of the scribble that I'm drawing through my game plan this morning. But both of these scenarios have kind of played out in the pre-market here a little bit already. So let me now show you my 30-minute chart with a volume profile to show you what I'm talking about. Make sure that's on screen. It is. Cool. So this is that area where we sold off really aggressively yesterday, right? In the morning. But we kind of spent all afternoon, like look at all this volume that we built here. And then we popped a little bit, built a little bit more volume here, and then ultimately rejected, right? Then overnight, we continued to just build volume in this range here, right? So we can see basically, aside from that morning drop that happened in the first, hour or two, we pretty much tried to bounce there, went sideways. And then this morning around 6 a.m., I was actually at my desk watching this, And, selling again came in pretty aggressively. Again, we broke prior day lows. Again, we left this area of low volume. We can call that a low volume node. It's not super clean because it's filled in. It was cleaner earlier, right? And so we already in the pre-market right here at these highs retested that area where we can see the low volume, where we broke down prior day highs. So that was a clean area to look to go short, which again has been the setup that's just been playing again and again and again over the last 2 weeks, which is we move aggressively, we leave an area of low volume, especially on a break under prior lows, we retest it, we continue lower, right? That's pretty much what happens in trending moves. So until that flips, that is still the context. The only thing I would say is just bearing in mind that we have on both ES and NQ an area where we previously based and rallied out of. It makes it a little difficult for me to look for like break and retest shorts here, right? Because we're already coming into 6,700. This is a key whole number. There's an area of, demand there where we also have a daily trend line there. And then on NQ, here, let me drop this in the chat as well. So I'm dropping these screenshots in the ChartFanatics Discord chat under the Matt Owen channel, so you guys can review if you want. But looking at NQ as well, there's multiple areas that I had noted here to just watch out for. Again, this was like the last area where we tried to sell off here from all-time highs, right? We tried to sell off here again. We bounced, we tried to sell off from all-time highs again, but each time we left a higher low. So like just purely from a price action context perspective, that tells me each time we tried to sell off, sellers got weaker and weaker and weaker until we finally based one last time and rallied out of it into new all-time highs, right? So this area being the last area where we based before we, broke out of new all-time highs, I'm cautiously watching because, and so what does that mean? Does it mean I'm going to step in front of all this selling down here to try to be Superman and catch the ultimate bottom? No, absolutely not. But I'm cautiously watching it to see if bulls, shift structure from there. Then I'll look to observe that and not get caught off guard. The other thing is like, I want to be cautious here, not initiating shorts down here in this area that could possibly bounce after we've already sold off, all week and the last week pretty much. So I'm bearing in mind both the probabilities game and the risk versus reward aspect of it. Does that make sense? Let me know in the chat, guys. I try to answer people's questions. I try to help you guys understand both the order flow, the market auction, and how I develop like context and levels leading into the morning. When there's a lack of really good supply and demand levels, I start to go more towards looking at the auction, looking at the ranges that form like open, high, low, and close. I look at key areas, like especially if it's around open, high, low, or close. I look for areas where volume has built up, where we've based and consolidated, and where we've moved quickly out of, where participants are aggressive, right? So I start having to be a lot more dynamic and looking at those creative, nuanced things when there's kind of a lack of really good like supply and demand areas. What about the previous 4-hour supply at 67.80? 67.80. Yeah, I mean, so if we rally all the way back up to the 67.80s, like above the consolidation area that formed yesterday afternoon and overnight, I would watch to see two things. One, and that's kind of over here where all this low volume is, right? Let me take a snip. So here's a couple scenarios that I'm watching out for this morning. So one, if this consolidation range here where all this volume was transacted above prior day lows, if and we're kind of building volume here now. If, and we have this area of low volume between, right, where we rejected. If bulls are able to show strength and get back above here, then I would maybe be looking for an opportunity to go long, just targeting these highs, right? However, if I don't catch that, or if I see, sellers reject here with strength, it's very much going to be just reading the auction and participants and who appears to be in control. If we pop back up here and just reject again, especially around these 40s area, right? 40s being kind of the area near prior day lows, area near the bottom of this consolidation range, area where this low volume area occurred on the sell-off overnight. So if we reject there, then I'll be open to shorts targeting the lows again. If we reclaim there, I'll be open to kind of longs targeting the high. Now, if we pop all the way back up here, it depends on how late in the day that it gets. I typically do not love trading late into the afternoon on Fridays. Nothing is always, but typically volume and volatility tends to decline. But if we do pop up here, I'd again, sellers were super aggressive here. We can see these prior lows where we sold through and left an area of low volume. So yeah, so you can see like a 4-hour supply area there, you could call it. You could call it a liquidity sweep over these highs. You could call it a lot of things, right? But it's an area where sellers could possibly want to defend between 67.80s to 68.05 or 6,800. Yesterday, I took a scalping trade, and unfortunately I closed it before this big move happened. But I basically saw the weakness develop when we failed to hold over those highs, and I took it short from I think the 17s down to the 05. So I took about 11, 12 points. So this was an area where the day prior morning, buyers were really aggressive. So it just became my target for shorts. And then ultimately, yeah, we broke through it, but I caught my piece and I walked away yesterday, right? But this is an area where I would be watching to see if sellers defend there. So again, we could call it a liquidity sweep over the highs to reject to the downside. This chart's getting messy, guys. Sorry. So we could call it a liquidity sweep reversal. We could call it a low volume node reversal. We could call it a 4-hour supply zone reversal. There's a lot of things that could tell you to watch out if the market rallies up here and watch what happens. We could just short squeeze all the way through it if buyers just turning crazy aggressive today. But I'd first be watching if we pop up there to see if sellers reload. And something that I've always noticed, right? A lot of the really good trades, really good setups where like really banger trades occur off of, there's a lot of different things that align there, whether it's like an ICT type setup, a supply and demand type setup, order flow analysis setup. There's typically on like really good moves that happen, there's a lot of different strategies that all kind of line up around that level. So there's a lot of eyes on that, right? And so for me, as someone that's just trading the order flow and the market auction, right? I don't really care what the strategy is, but I do pay attention where I know a lot of eyes and other participants are going to be involved. And so I'm going to read what happens there with the market auction and the order flow. Hopefully that makes sense. I primarily trade ES. That's what I'm going to be focused on this morning. I do kind of share levels and information on NQ. But I generally am looking for trades on ES. Yeah, I'm primarily an ES trader. I do look at confluences on NQ. I do, look at some things on NQ, but I primarily trade ES. Some other things to mention, SOX, the semiconductor index, has been pretty weak recently. That's been a big driving factor, especially on NQ. A lot of that has to do with AI and stuff like that. VX is also very strong, right? VX is now back above 20s. It ripped yesterday. It's continued up overnight. So VX is when VX is very elevated like that, it's going to add more pressure on the indices, right? Because that's based on like demand for put options, I believe, on like SPX. So when that increases, then it's going to just act as like a weight on ES and NQ, right? Pops are more likely going to be sold into unless that changes. I give the analogy a lot of times when VX is really elevated and ES and NQ are making pops, it's almost like watching somebody try to jump with ankle weights on. It just kind of tends to just keep getting dragged back down. It's just what I have gotten the most experience with. I started trading SPY options a long time ago when I was more swing trading. I traded a lot of like Mag 7 names and I traded SPY a lot. And then I just got into ES. No real reason. NQ is a lot more volatile and fast. And so sometimes when there's periods where ES is very, very dead and very low very low volatility and grindy, then I'll maybe look at NQ to catch, kind of quick volatile scalps. But I've just primarily spent my time trading ES. So happy Friday, Logan. If you tuned in late, just again, we are going to be doing some giveaways later in the session. We're going to watch the order flow together, and I'll go through what I'm watching here this morning. We can see how, just looking at the order flow here, let me kind of zoom out. We've been making some lower highs here. The market's opening in 2 minutes. And I should mention also, we have some news at 10 a.m. I think Michigan consumer confidence. So that may spark some extra volatility around 10 a.m. Let me know in the chat if you guys are watching anything else as far as news. I don't have anything else other than that, really. There is a lot of heaviness here, though. There's a lot of heaviness, and we did drop down to that trend line that I talked about on ES. However, we're just kind of hanging out there. We already popped and rejected off that low volume node area, which was like 67.40s to 30s under prior day lows. We sold through that aggressively overnight. And one thing I'm watching here is that trend line was around the 18s, 19s, which was a daily trend line over the last month or so. Let me see here, couple months. Let me get another snip here so you guys have the context of where I was watching that from. So here's the daily chart, and this is that trend line that formed here, right? We did wick under it a few times, but I left it up because we recaptured above it so quickly and didn't really spend any time there. So I did leave it up, and you can see this is the next time we're testing that, right? And we've kind of been in this channel multiple times now, and that last time we tried to break all-time highs, which coincidentally was right at that channel, and we rejected from it. And now this is the next time we're back at the lows of that, right? So that combined with just look where the market based here and then rallied out of there. So this is why I'm like, we could break through here. And if we do break through here and this continues to be heavy, I really don't see much in the near term, either today or next week, from us going all the way down to like the 6600s. So that's a possibility if the wheels just continue to come off this thing, especially seeing how we're just kind of consolidating here, and we can see 1, 2, 3, 4 times now, and now we're under VWAP here. 4 times here in the pre-market, we have tried to rally off that, and it's just stayed heavy, right? It's just stayed pretty heavy. And this thing is already opening pretty heavy. Unless, we might have a bit of a momentum play here to scalp it to the downside. You can see how heavy that selling was right there, right off the open, swept it lower. But if this thing just falls through the floor without any kind of like pop or good confirmation, you can make money doing that, right? You can chase it short and you can make money doing that. but try it the next 100 times and I guarantee you will probably lose money, right? It's just not a good risk versus reward thing. So you have to always bear in mind, like even if the market's moving and there's good volatility and it's moving in a direction, if there's not a good setup with good risk versus reward that you can repeat and you have a repeatable system and edge for, then just chasing it to make money, even if you make money in the short term, it's not going to matter because you're going to lose money overall if you continue to trade like that. So we'll see what happens here. Very heavy right off the bell. We've already broken prior day lows. We already bounced in the pre-market and tried to retest that low volume node that formed on the break of the prior day lows, rejected it. So bears are very much in control here. I'm not going to try to step in front of that unless, you know, I see very strong defense at a key area, right? And again, I'm very selective on my trades, even though I am a short-term trader. I do trade my own real capital, so I'm not, you know, I'm not demo trading or prop firm trading. I trade my own live capital, so I look for very good opportunities when I feel comfortable risking my own hard-earned money, and I look to trade that. So we are seeing some aggressive buying step in here at these 67.10s. We're kind of breaking under those prior swing lows on the 4-hour chart from back on Thursday, the 23rd of October. I do like this aggressive buying that's stepping in right here. It's just a heavy tape overall, heavy context overall, not ideal to try to catch a bottom here, in my opinion. It's not good context for a mean reversion setup. It's not really good context for a bottom reversal setup. So it might bounce from here, but don't have much for it. Let me check the chat here, see if I missed anything. Yeah, you can zoom in and out here. I prefer to look at a little bit more granular view when I'm at an area that I'm looking to take a trade. But if I'm not, then I try to zoom out a little bit more. You can see, so this is a key information piece for you guys, right? When the market is very heavy and we're forming like, you know, breakdown type setups, you'll typically see a lot of defense around VWAP, and you'll also see patterns like this build at a low, right? So the low being that area around 1819, we had that trend line this morning. It tried to get defended several times, but we see 1, 2, 3, 4 attempts from buyers to defend that area around 1819 where we had that trend line, and every single time we made a lower high, meaning, so when I'm watching the auction here, right, look at how small these buy bubbles are on these pops, and look at how large these aggressive selling bubbles are on the drops, right? So you can just see clearly who's in control of the tape here. When we have pops being weaker, buying and making lower highs, so buyers are just running out of gas more and more. They're trying to defend that 1819 level, but they're just running out of gas more and more. And you know, that is something I look for a continuation breakdown, right? To me though, I wasn't comfortable, you know, selling right at the 9:30 bell here, and I wasn't comfortable with this in the pre-market here. So I don't really, my data is not good for trading in the pre-market like 30 minutes before the open. So I typically just wait for setups between like 9:30 and 11. And if it's not in that time window, then I just don't trade it. But if, you know, this happened at a different time here, like maybe 5 minutes after the bell, that would have been really great. I would have loved to go short there. But right at the 930 bell, it's tough to go short here. And that could have easily squeezed a little higher. You know, don't really have any good place to put a stop loss. So just we see it developing, but there just wasn't much on my end to do about it. This thing is super heavy, man. This thing is super heavy. Honestly, like if we break from here and pops continue to fail, I really don't see much until the 6600s, right? You know, we could fake out under one of these 4-hour lows here around 66.92. And we're already kind of breaking firmly under those lows at 67.17.18, where we also had that 4-hour trend line. 66.90, there's some prior lows there. So if we sweep under there and, you know, aggressive buyers come in, we could trigger a short-term little short squeeze there. That could trigger, you know, a short squeeze for a relief bounce. That's something we could look to scalp maybe, but man, is it hard to go against this heavy tape. Also, bear in mind, guys, when volatility goes crazy high like this, you know, you can look at things like VX, right? And you can just feel it. As an order flow trader, it's like a spidey sense. You can really feel the speed of the tape and the feel of the volatility. And when markets get fast and get a lot more volatile, highly recommend managing your risk accordingly, sizing down, because you're going to typically need wider stops. Like for me, I take a lot of trades with just like 2-3 point stop losses, sometimes even 1 point stop losses for very, very fast scalps, right? Because I'm not waiting for candle chart structure or anything like that. I'm seeing the real-time order flow. Here's those 92s, 93s. Let's watch this. There's a pretty large bid sitting here. So this is a large passive buyer, but he could just get smoked through. I mean, that, you know, we don't know the intent of those participants until we start seeing the reaction after it. What was I saying? Yeah, when volatility goes high, I highly recommend managing your risk very, very consistently. I like how we hit that there and we're starting to pop off of it. But again, it's really hard to go long against this very heavy tape here. I do like that though. I'm going to see if we get a little pullback here if something happens. If I see more bids defend this, I might try to scalp this to the long side for just a relief bounce. I'd got to see some significant bids trying to defend it or something though. I'm not just going to step in front of it if we sweep back lower. So anyway, like I was saying, something popping up here on the heat map. So on the heat map, guys, we can see the passive orders. The red and green bubbles are the aggressive like market participants, right? So those are market sell and buy delta, right? And we can see the spread on the volume profile delta over here. And then on the heat map, yeah, we're just smoking through that, guys. So I'm not stepping in front of this. Geez, this is a heavy tape. It's been a few months since I've seen a week and an order flow tape this heavy. So when you see some market conditions start to change, right? Like we've seen over the last week, it's very good to size down and position yourself to make adjustments. A lot of people trade really well for periods of time, right? When the market conditions just align with the setups that they're taking, but then that changes and they just get blown up and wiped out, right? You have to be very, very in tune with the conditions and the things that are happening in the market. And that's something I struggled with a lot going on, right? Like I would trade very well for periods of time and then conditions would change. The uptrend would flip to a balance range or a balance range would flip to a downtrend and I would get absolutely smoked, right? And then you blow up everything that you made and then some. So you have to be very, very, and when you start to get a sense and feel for like when conditions are changing, when we're shifting from an uptrend to a downtrend, right? Highly recommend, and when we increase volatility, sizing down and getting yourself adjusted properly to different conditions, different setups. So we can see, again, we swept out these lows a second time and bids trying to come in here again. So I'm watching this now. So we took out this low twice now under that prior swing low on the 4 hour, and aggressive buying is trying to come in again here. So I'm watching this now. And we see this bid popping up here. So this is possibly a passive buyer. And again here, following it up. So we hit this low, we hit it again, we swept out the low again. Aggressive buying stepping in again. So this is something I'm now watching. Again, very, very counter trend. Recommend sizing down and understanding when you're taking counter trend trade. If you take it, understand what it is and look to be in and out quick and not try to fight the overall market. So I'm watching what happens. If we pull back in here, we see this bid kind of popping up here. So I'm going to take a little scalp long at this here, and I'm going to trail my stop very fast. I'm in at the 93s. I just have a stop under like 92. I want this to kind of go really fast here. Actually, I'm going to go break even because if it sweeps under 93s, I can look to re-enter. If we can just pop up back up to the 6700s, I'll be out. So it's like a 6-7 point scalp on a 1 point risk. See this on the heat map here around 6,700. That's what I'm targeting. Just a quick relief bounce scalp, guys. I'm not trying to be the ultimate bottom catcher. What's going on here? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. My footprint chart is up to date. Wow, I just got stopped out break even here. This just threw me off, guys. I was watching this on, I got a massive delay here on my book map. I just stopped out break even. My footprint chart is real time. That's not delayed, but I'm having a massive delay on my book map data here. 9, 10 seconds. Man, that just swept me out break even. Now it's popping. That just really threw me off. You can see up here in the corner of my book map screen, it's delayed like 8 seconds right now. I've been having this issue several times recently. Wow. And there's my target. Oh my goodness. That's frustrating, guys. That just swept me out break even. And then it just went and instantly hit my target. I'll show you on Sierra chart here. So you can see I took it long here at 93.50 and I pulled my stop up to 93.50 very, very quickly. My original stop was under 92, so it was only like a point risk, but I just got swept out there. Again, it's volatile, but I didn't re-enter. I would have looked to re-enter there immediately, but it just caught me off guard that my book map data was like 10 seconds delayed there. So I was like very uncomfortable jumping back in that. I've had issues with this rhythmic data latency probably 3 or 4 times over the last couple weeks. Hopefully somebody else caught that in the chat, right? That was a razor sharp entry here. Unfortunately, I got swept out break even. But you see the box here that I drew? Again, understand that is just a relief bounce, right? You have to understand when the market auction is shifting. We saw these bids appearing down here, and that's when I said, okay, now I'm interested in it 1 time, 2 times. Now aggressive buyers are coming in. We've retested it. Okay, now I'm in long. Unfortunately, I did not get in when I thought I got in because I was looking at Bookmap down here and I was looking at this when it dropped to the 91s is when I clicked market buy and the market was already trading up here at the 93s. And I didn't even realize I had a 10-second delay on my Bookmap data going on. So perfect setup. I just got kind of screwed because when I was looking to buy, I was looking at Bookmap at the 91s. And then I was like, wait a second, I'm filled at the 93s because my footprint chart here on Sierra is real time and Bookmap was 10 seconds delayed. So that's an error on my fault. It's my fault really, because I didn't even look up here in the top. I'm kind of pissed, guys. That was a great setup right there. Man. Anybody else catch that scalp though? I mean, analysis was perfect. Unfortunately, I was tardy in realizing that I had a delay on my bookmap data there. So right now I'm this 2-minute intervals on bookmap here. Man, am I frustrated. Guys, I just got. It happens, man. It happens. You can't let it affect the next trade that you take. But what a catch there on the bottom of that. Like, man. I wouldn't chase it up here though, because understand, like, I was sniping a relief bounce back into those 6700s. So I very much understand that I'm going against momentum here. I'm going against the trend. So I'm not looking to chase that long up here, right? I was looking to risk like a point here. Unfortunately, I was late to realizing that my bookmap and my footprint chart data time was very different. So it looks like that delay is gone. Keep an eye up here, guys. Like if this goes delayed again, and it must have just been this surge in orders. But man, 10-second delay on order flow data is massive. You can't trade like that. Some people caught it though, caught the scalp. Very nice. No, that's not something that I see often. It's been occurring several times recently. I don't know if it's a problem with rhythmic data. Rhythmic data historically has been very good, very fast, very reliable. That's why I use it. But recently I've been having issues. Like over the last couple weeks, there's been 2 or 3 days where I've had this issue where my bookmap data is sudden, like especially when volatility comes in like this, my bookmap data or my rhythmic data on bookmap is suddenly like 5, 10, 15 seconds delayed, which is untradeable for how I trade. And I have different data providers, so I can, if that becomes an issue, I can switch over. And obviously I have the Denali data on Sierra chart, which is also very, very good. Or no, yeah, Denali data, very, very good, very, very fast. So that never went delayed. But for my analysis and entry, I was looking at bookmap, not my footprint chart. I just clicked the buy and not even realizing that what I was looking at for my analysis was 10 seconds behind the market here on bookmap. So, I mean, fantastic analysis here. You guys see how we caught that, how I marked this zone. So the location of that was 4-hour swing lows. So you can call this like a liquidity grab reversal. So I'll show you. Let me switch over to the 4-hour. I'm still watching this, but I'm not looking to enter anything right here. So I'll take a minute to answer questions and show you guys why I was watching this spot right here and what just happened. And this is a good area to gauge here if sellers continue to reject these 6700s. You can see that was a key level under VWAP where we tried to pop, and then this massive, look at this massive selling that hit here, and now we're now rejecting under this. So if I see this again and we see all these offers here, I will look to go for shorts here. I'd rather see a sweep over this and fill these orders here. I didn't see much here to just go short. We hit it and rejected, but I didn't see much here for me to go short. You can see this delay's popping up again, 1 second delayed here. So I have to be very mindful of that now. I'm going to extend this zone over where this interesting activity. A lot of people ask me, like, how do you come up with key levels based on order flow? Like, this is how, right? When I see large bids filling after this large sell-off, and then we swept under a 4-hour low, and then I see super aggressive buying come in. Like at this moment, even on like a 1-minute candle chart, there is nothing telling you, in my opinion, to go long here. But look at the size of the buying that came in here after these large bids filled multiple times, right? That is what caught my eye. And then I still didn't look to go long it immediately. I look to see this pullback and see on this pullback how this selling is relatively weaker here at the 91s. This is where I thought I was getting long before I realized the delay going on. But so three things, right? There's three things that just happened here. I'll talk about this, and then I'll talk about the candle chart for the location of why I was looking at this here. So there's three things that happened here. Let's look at this really quick. One, the large aggressive selling that came into these bids. So right, passive buyers here, and then we saw them popping up again. So again, this caught my attention, but I wasn't willing to take a trade on it. Then this really caught my attention when we did it a second time. And then this time, super large aggressive buying came in. And then look at so one, we see absorption. Two, we see aggressive buying. And then three, on this pullback, look how weak that selling is relative to this selling, right? So large absorption, aggressive buying, then on this pullback, weaker selling, exactly where we had that large aggressive buying, right? So understand the context. This is just a relief catch. So I'm trying to go long here and just target where these aggressive sellers were at that key whole 6,700 level, right? Now let me get this out of the way here. We're just kind of chopping up and down now, right? It's a battle here. So this was a good edge. I'm not seeing much here. We're just chopping, right? So this was a good edge for a scalp into 6,700s, right? Very, very, very low risk, very high risk reward. Even a tiny scalp like that, you're looking at 5-6R. Tiny scalp like that. All right, so absorption, right, is when we had all this aggressive selling right into these prior lows, right? So look at let me now talk about the Y, right? So 4-hour chart, right? 4-hour chart here. Prior lows here, I was watching, nothing happened. Prior lows here, we swept them. That's not a good line, but we swept them right there at those 92s, 93s. And I told you guys I was watching if we see something there on that sweep under those 92s, 93s. So kind of just a liquidity grab sweep, catch it for a quick bottom reversal. When I see good confirmations, understand that it's counter trend and I'm just trading for a quick scalp, getting in, getting out. And there you go. I mean, textbook. But unfortunately, I had that 10-second rhythmic data delay. Thank you very much, Rhythmic. Awesome. But you guys see how I protected myself? And when that was going on, I took it off break even. You know, unfortunate this time. Another time, it could have been a nice 7-8 point catch on very, very little risk. Yeah, when I entered here, I was looking at Bookmap and my intent was to be in around the 91s on that pullback, and not even realizing when I executed that order, the Bookmap data was behind, and when I was really getting filled was the 93s, which was not as ideal. And it took me a second to realize what just happened. But isn't that amazing? Like, look how much we've bounced from here now, right? On this whole massive freaking sell-off. Yeah, we have news in 6 minutes too, so I'm chilling for that, right? On this whole massive sell-off, the only place where I looked to get involved was the bottom of the day so far. And it was because of what we saw in the order flow, right? Absolutely zero chance you catch that with a candle chart alone. I mean, you could, but you'd just be guessing. Because not every sweep under a low forms a pattern like that, right? We could have swept under that 4-hour low at 92s, 93, 60, what was it? 66, 92s, 93s. Yeah. We could have swept under that and then just crushed, right? If heavy selling came in. So if I'm just like seeing that sweep on a candle chart under there, there's nothing about that tells me go long for a scalp without seeing that on the order flow, right? Because the tape was heavy. We could have just absolutely crushed through that if we didn't see that information on the order flow. Yeah, so buyers kind of struggling to get back above where this, like, if you look at the largest sell bubbles of the day here so far, it was right here. Let me mark this. That's not what I meant to do. We have news coming out in 4 minutes, guys, 10 a.m. Michigan consumer sentiment. So just be aware. Right, so on the break of those 6700s, we had this really, large selling. We're trying to squeeze back above it. And if we do, then we could continue the short squeeze here, right? We could continue the short squeeze all the way back up to the regular trading hours highs. But that was why I was just targeting like this area here where these really aggressive sellers were with that trade. I wasn't looking for like the biggest home run ever. I was just looking for a high probability scalp into those sellers. We also have this anchored VWAP, guys. This has been, I use a lot of anchored VWAPs. Here's another tip for you. So what I'm watching here is this is just kind of a key pivot point for me. If bulls continue up here, we could break and retest above it. If sellers reject, we could break and retest below it, right? And we have news coming out in 3 minutes. So guys, my VWAP that you see on my chart here is anchored. I was kind of looking at like this uptrend move that we've made for a while back to September. And so you can see, where is it? Derp. That's my VWAP settings, by the way, guys. So I have that. Yeah, so I filter a lot of noise on my bookmap screen by using these sliders here. You can see my dot size and this heat map. If by default, when you open bookmap, it looks something like this, right? And to me, it's just so much visual noise. I don't really give two craps about all these small orders, right? I care about where big players are getting involved. So I drag this all the way over. I only want to see like key spots on the heat map where big players are putting orders. Yeah, when I draw, Lorenzo, are you, if you know, you know. We draw the, when we draw the boxes, we pay attention. This one is not like a super key order flow like pattern or anything that happened. I'm just watching this area because this is where these large sellers came in. We just swept above them now. So it'll be equally interesting if we sweep above them, stop everybody out that shorted too late, and then reject for another move lower. Also right at that VWAP level. 10 a.m. news in 1 minute. You can see how the tape gets kind of thin and sporadic here because people are pulling their orders. Nobody wants to be in. Yeah, Kaz, if you want more order flow information, I'm very responsive. The best way to get a hold of me is just to send me a message on Instagram. I share a lot of order flow insights for trade and trade recaps on Instagram and YouTube. So if you're not already, you can get more information from me there. But I'm here in CF Live every Friday now. So we can see the speed and volatility increase here on the news. Very gambly to get in a trade here, right? Could go either way. Yeah, we're gonna be doing some giveaways. What's your win rate? It really depends on the month, right? It depends. If I have a really good month, my win rate is like near like 70%, and kind of a bad month more towards like 40%. I've had profitable months with a win rate as low as 25-30%. Because I focus more on risk versus reward and finding good pivot points in the market. if you understand the market auction and you get to a point where you can really understand where, you know, momentum shifts in the market based on reading order flow and stuff, there's very little to lose and very much to gain. So sharp rejection here. It is a little unfortunate when we get retests of a key zone like this and reject, and it happens just like right on the news, and you just kind of got to sit out. You know, I'd love to look for a reversal there for the continuation move lower here, but I'm not. Same thing as like what happened right off the 930. I'm not just gambling into it, just jumping in a position right at 930. I'm not gambling in it, jumping into a position right at 10 a.m. on the news. Like, it could have squeezed either way. But it's unfortunate we were right at that key area where I wanted to look for it, right at the news. I primarily scalp. You know, trades for me are typically 5 to 30 minutes. Sometimes they can turn into more position day trades, right? If I'm with a trend, and it can turn into a several hour trade. And I do swing trade, but I mostly trade options on like SPY and QQQ for that. And it's a lot less frequent, a few times a quarter, but I typically trade those big with size when there's good higher time frame opportunities. Good questions though. Any other questions about order flow analysis, about trade setups? Let me know in the chat and I will get to it. We're kind of watching the market in no man's land right now. To me, between here and here, in the middle of this chop is no man's land. Don't touch it. We also have shifted the point of control. Just looking at the volume profile here, is like right at that 66.99, right around that 6,700 whole number. So we're oscillating that, right? If we're oscillating around a key spot, you know, for me personally, I don't like to touch it. I'll show you guys. So let me show you, let me snip my volume profile here, show you what I'm talking about, so we're all clear. So looking at the volume profile, you can see how much volume we've built here, consolidating. And I will say, right, there's two things that I look at in a volume profile. One, if we build, well, let me talk about this in a second. One, you can see the point of control shift here. So value area high, low, and point of control. We can see just this has become quite balanced here. We're building volume here. So down here, when I caught it at the edge, we had that key area under those 4-hour lows. We had key information to take a scalp. Great. But now what's developed is, you know, we're building volume in here, and anything like right in the middle of here is like chop zone. Be careful. Again, I'm dropping these screenshots in the ChartFanatics Discord if you want to follow along. All right, so let me just do this. Just drop link thing here, right? So a couple things. When I'm looking at like a day volume profile, I want to pay attention to this when it's in a key spot, guys. So hang on. Just draw this right here, right? So when I'm looking at, you know, say that the day is trading, however, right? And I'm looking at the volume profile on a very imbalanced conditions, you know, I'm observing a volume profile form as like a bell curve, right? You can see less participants get involved at the lows, less get involved at the highs. Buyers and sellers are generally agreeing on price where volume is built, right? And that can get choppy. I don't want to be involved in that. So when I see that, on intraday and on a day volume profile, right, I can look for mean reversions or, you know, wait for a strong break out of that. But what I don't want to do is get, you know, effed up in the middle, right? balanced day volume profile, or even intraday when I see that forming, right? Now, the opposite, which is kind of what we're seeing today and a lot recently, is when I see a wavy volume profile, right? And that's where we see like areas of low volume nodes, right? And so what's happening here? We drop, we're basing, we drop again, we're basing. And so we can see that on a volume profile, and we can see very specifically where we want to get involved or not, right? So if I see kind of a wavy, volume profile where we're, basing, dropping, wow, this thing just, hang on, the wheels are coming off this train. Man, I would have loved to short this retest up here. Unfortunate, just right on the 10 a.m. news. You see that? That's why I marked this zone before we even got here on the 10 a.m., right? And it's just because look at the whole chart intraday, right? I don't even need to look at a candle chart. The whole chart intraday, where was the largest sellers? Right there, right? On that break of that 6,700-ish area. So we retested it, and where did we reject? Right where the largest sellers were on the breakdown today. Is my book map? I don't see a delay. It's popping up here occasionally, like 1 second delay, like when we have a lot of orders coming in, which is not ideal still, but 1 second is a lot different than like 10 seconds or whatever it was when I took that trade. That's terrible. Yeah, guys, this is heavy, so be careful stepping in front of this. We are kind of seeing, look at the bids defending this drop here again. We broke the lows again, and bids are popping in. So, right, we saw this aggressive selling right into this passive buyer here, bid being this passive buyer on the 85s. But is it enough that I want to go against the downside momentum we're having this whole week and today? Got to be very careful and selective when doing that. That stuff I talk about, the volume profile and like coming up with analysis based on that, makes sense to you guys? Sharp bounce off that again. So if anything, that when you see this like large selling coming into bids and then aggressive buying stepping in, you may not want to try to catch the bottom on it every time, right? Unless it's at a really key area and it makes sense. But you can visually see here why it's not a good idea to chase shorts at the lows. Right? This is exactly why you don't want to chase shorts at the lows, because we see these passive buyers that stepped in, and it may or may not continue a bottom reversal from here. I don't know, but they're sure as heck short squeezing everybody that shorted the lows. Man, delayed again, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Yeah, that's not ideal. Not ideal at all. A lot of aggressive buying off that. So look at that massive selling that hit the lows, and we reversed from there. So what does that tell me? I mean, if we have large aggressive selling at the lows like that, and we bounce from there, like who's on the other side of that? Obviously, we swept the lows again here, and we're absorbing aggressive sellers under the lows, right? Man, 10 seconds delayed. That is not ideal. My footprint looks to be close to the same price though. I don't know if that's accurate or if all of my data is delayed right now. If all of my data is delayed, then I might have an internet issue. But I'm not really comfortable trading if I'm seeing a 15-second delay on my data. I buy data separately from Bookmap, so it's the rhythmic data, and I think it's like $40 a month. So we're retesting that zone again here, but kind of difficult for me to click buy or sell here when I'm seeing 11-second delay. Is anybody else here a Bookmap user? And if so, are you seeing data delays like this as well? Yeah, I mean, I can try to restart my Bookmap quick here. It's been open since like 5 a.m., but so we're again off this same zone up here, looking to possibly reject. One-second delay right here. I don't see anything to step in front of this buying though, yet. Maybe what it looks like when I zoom in more, maybe there's less data on screen and it's not delaying as much. All right, sorry guys, dealing with this and trying to look for a trade. What's up in the chat? Same. So it looks like several people are having issues with this, like 13, 14-second delay going on. So just be careful, be mindful of that. Watching to see if we possibly reject again here, but we are building some upside momentum here. So you want to be cautious stepping in front of anything. I would want to see a pretty stiff rejection and then from sellers and then retest with weaker buying. But zooming out here, like, you know, we're building some upside momentum here. The next thing that I'm watching is, you know, this area from the opening range where we had this really aggressive selling that came in right off the get-go. Extend this over. Watching that area as well. But again, this is that area earlier I said would be kind of equally key, right? Where these large participants have been involved several times. If we squeeze over this, you know, we could see aggressive buying come in and squeeze much higher quickly, right? If we short squeeze these highs, now if we pull back and hold here, I may be interested in longs, you know, squeezing back up into these. But if it goes without me, without any kind of a pullback, then it's just nothing doing. But now we're above this guy where this aggressive seller was. We rejected it once. Now look at the aggressive buying coming in above that, trying to force another short squeeze. So I'd want to see buyers now hold above this zone if we pull back. Large aggressive buying coming in above these highs, I would want to see that get defended. If we get a quick drop with some weaker selling, I would want to see that get defended. We may or may not get it. It may just keep squeezing. Rasul, are you live? Yeah, you could send me a message on Instagram, Rasul. Watching ORB to the upside. Yeah, I mean, if we get above the opening range from this morning, then we could certainly squeeze higher. That would be kind of that scenario that I talked about with you guys in the pre-market. This selling is looking a little heavy dropping back into here. Not exactly weak, but see what happens here. If we squeeze back above, you know, those opening range highs, this is kind of speeding up here. Definitely something going on here. You can just see how the bubbles start really speeding up when participants really start getting involved. We saw this bid here right at this VWAP area too. Point of control again just shifted here, so that just shows, you know, the volume that's going on here. It's a little bit kind of middle of the range here so far today though. Some buying coming in. Kind of feels 50-50, not, yeah. Feels like a tight battle here between buyers and sellers right now. Let's see if we drop back through this and now retest it. I don't know. We're kind of going up and down through it, guys. So if I see us just kind of chopping up and down through it too much, then I don't want to really touch it. There are some bids trying to defend here right at the low of this area. Okay, let's see if we get a little, is it just going to shoot? If we get a little pullback, I might look to go with it here. All right, I'm trying it here at the 08s, but I'm just gonna have a quick stop under like 06. Kind of want this to go immediately. If it drops through me, then I'll just get out. Nothing doing. Buyers kind of just evaporated here. I'm still in it, but not loving it. All right, quick shot up here. I'm gonna trail very fast here to break even at 08s. Up, and I'm out. All right, I'm gonna sit back here, guys. It's getting choppy. I had about a 2-point risk there. I liked seeing this really aggressive buying above this box again. So that's why I trailed my stop loss to break even here. I don't like to see all that aggressive buying come in and just instantly just evaporate back down into here. So I'm just taking it off, break even again. Once I see really aggressive buying come in back above this zone, I want to see that move. And it may have just chopped me out again and now it's squeezing. It just got choppy. Yeah, but I don't like to see that really aggressive buying come in and then instantly drop back. Man. Tagged me break even and it's going to go again. It's one of those days it's looking like, guys. No, not sustaining. Yeah, I'm sitting out here, guys. It's very, very, it looked good here on this break above it. And then we, tried to hold and aggressive buying comes in. But when I'm seeing that fail like multiple times and we're just chopping up and down around it, like if I zoom out here, right, look at this massive buying that came in. That's why I tried to go long with it here, right? We saw the pullback into it, then we saw the massive buying, but it's just looking very choppy middle of the range here now. Technically, we're still holding above it. It's just, it's not clean. I don't have a big trade filter size, right? These are just the real orders here. If you're talking about these numbers on the absorption indicator, I actually should probably turn this up because it's triggering a little too much. But if you look at my absorption indicator here, where is it? The numbers that are popping up on my bar is the bookmap absorption indicator. And so I have a standard deviation set to 30 minutes. And so if an order, and I have the multiplier set here, so it's gonna automatically adjust. So if an order comes in that's like 17 standard deviations higher than normal, than what's the average is over the last 30 minutes, then it will trigger and it will show me that. Yeah, we can see how these buyers tried multiple times here. And when I see that just failing, that's why I just protected myself and went out break even. So rule number one above everything else is just risk management and protecting yourself, guys. And when you're trading like order flow setups like this, there are some setups where I give it a lot more breathing room and I'm a lot more patient with it. But then when I'm reading things, other setups like this, I just have a feel to know, like when I see the participants come in and start moving it in my direction, it's got to go or I'm just wrong. And there's no reason to hold my full stop loss when I can see that, those participants are failing to move it in the direction that I was looking for. So there's no reason in holding my original stop loss. My confirmation was just how, one, we pulled back into here, and then two, this really large buying that came in here, right around VWAP, right around the test of this zone. So I was looking for a continued squeeze above these highs into this opening range up here. However, you can see after my entry, we popped here with this aggressive buying and it just instantly evaporated back down. So like nobody was willing to continue buying above these highs. So that's why I was instantly out. And in hindsight, this setup is not ideal when the momentum overall is to the downside, right? Overall, sellers are still very much in control of the market right now. So, kind of hindsight here, a few minutes later, that setup is not as good. And looking at NQ over here, we're kind of breaking under those key areas that I was watching around 25,000. And we're kind of holding under that now as well. So seems like NQ is still relatively weak. So not ideal to try to catch that setup. Yeah, the bubbles are aggressive participants, market sellers and buyers. Yeah, so after the aggressive buying, I was looking at the weak selling on the pullback to go long, targeting, you know, a squeeze back up into this zone up here, right? But it got too choppy and the buying just completely fizzled out. So there was no reason for me to hold that. And you can see we swept down under that range now. I'm going to remove this now because it's not so key anymore. So it's still working, right? We're still kind of oscillating and trying to pop back up towards that zone up there. However, you know, it just got a little too choppy. And for how tight I was trying to trade that, like I'm not trying to put a massive stop down here, right? So for how I was looking to trade that, you know, too choppy. We are going to be doing giveaways here in just a minute, guys. My priority was looking to catch a trade here this morning, but honestly, we're back in the middle of this range. You know, I've tried to catch two decent setups and, you know, both just kind of swept me out for break even. This was the best one though. The first one, you know, just unfortunate, had that data delay issue, but hopefully you guys saw the analysis for the setup. And that is really what I'm trying to convey with you guys. Yeah, so it depends on the situation. Blair asked, like, are you waiting for aggressive participants to step in or a pullback into them? Kind of both, right? So I'm looking for one, like I know aggressive participants were here, right? And we've now broken over them. So I'm kind of looking for a weak pullback into that to go long as soon as I see aggressive buying start to step in. So like right here, right? We had this relatively weaker pullback. And as soon as I started to see large aggressive buying come in, I'm going with them with a very tight stop, right? And just looking to squeeze back up into that next zone. But you can see here how that aggressive buying came in and just fizzled out and got shut down. So that's why I just protected myself and went break even. Because if I'm right on this type of setup, it's going to go fast, right? I don't need to, after seeing it pop and fail with that aggressive buying, there's no need for me to hold my stop loss under that low anymore. All right, guys. So as we watch this chop around in this range, great news. We're gonna do some giveaways here. So only enter this in the chat one time if you want to be entered in it. If you spam the chat with it, you know, unfortunately, you're just not going to get selected for it. So enter one time, !join. That's going to enter you in, and then we'll do the giveaway here in just a moment. We have multiple giveaways accounts. So if you're interested in that, highly recommend !join in the chat. We've got Apex accounts, Funded Next accounts, Alpha Capital accounts. And actually looking at this, guys, zooming out here, 1, 2, 3 attempts to break out over where these sellers were, right? And kind of weaker each time. I'm glad I saw that and protected myself from holding a loss there, right? So, and many times reading the order flow is so good at just helping you avoid unnecessary losses, right? You can see when you're on the right side or you're not, and you can protect yourself more than anything. And really, above all else, trading is a game of risk management, right? So one of my favorite things about trading with order flow versus just, you know, candle charts and price action, because you can be successful with that, but one of my favorite things is just the ability to quickly identify when things are going well and when they're not, and be able to protect yourself when it's the right time to just protect yourself. All right, guys, we're gonna cut the join in just a minute here. So !join if you wanna be entered for it. Like I said, we got Apex accounts, Funded Next accounts, Alpha Capital account. Who doesn't like free opportunity to make money? All right, guys, we're going to cut it here. We're going to do the drawing. So going back to the volume profile thing with you guys, right? Context. What I was looking for here really was this, where we had this volume built here, and over these tens, you know, I was, especially because we had that large order there, I was looking for that to squeeze out back into here. But once we're dropping back and we're just in this area where we're just building volume, and actually we do have a very prominent low volume node area right there where sellers may continue to reject right there. So I was looking for us to get back above that and kind of squeeze back into that opening range. But when I quickly identified that was, at least at the moment, not ready, not happening, that's why I'm just covering myself here, right? And then to the flip side, knowing we have this low volume area there where sellers are aggressive, actually, you know, we can continue to reject there and we could go back to the lows. Again, I'm dropping these screenshots in the chat here in, the ChartFanatics Discord, so you guys can go back and review what I talked about here. And if you want to review it with reviewing the live stream to help you understand order flow stuff a little better. And I'll also share a screenshot of my book map here to show you that area that I was watching and why, which was where we had these large orders and then we rejected it once with these, and now we're kind of balancing here, right? So what I was initially looking for is if we carried that momentum and squeezed up there, but we could also, you know, fail here. And obviously we're seeing this turn into a balance point around where these large orders happen. So I don't want to get chopped up in the middle there. We also have this anchored VWAP level there. And it looks like more than anything, the heaviness has continued. We tried to pop over this 3 times now, and exactly kind of like what I talked about earlier, right? When VX is so elevated, every time the market pops, it's like trying to jump with ankle weights on. That's like kind of exactly what we saw here in real time. I don't know. I've never used deep charts. I think they're launching and I'm going to check them out. But I've been using Bookmap for 5-6 years and it's a great tool. So drop that in the chat. All right, so let's do the giveaways, guys. I got the list. Thank you for everyone that entered. Let me pull this down here. Got a lot of people in here. All right, guys, let me pull this up over here while we continue to stay in this zone. Let's do it. So we got the Apex account. Eugene GA 2658. Let me know in the chat if you got this. Eugene, 2658. There he is. We got him, guys. So to be clear, so go in the ChartFanatics Discord, go to the giveaways tab. It's free to join, by the way, guys. Like you can join in the ChartFanatics Discord for all this valuable information, and go to the giveaways tab, click the blue button to claim it, Eugene. All right, guys, we got 2 more here. Planation, yeah, SAS. I'm not gonna mess this up, guys. Are you here? Guys, the entries are already closed now, but the great news is these lives continue going on like every day. ChartFanatics has great traders in here doing lives with more giveaways. There he is. All right, yeah. So once again, go to the ChartFanatics Discord, to the giveaways, click the button to claim yours. Awesome. Congratulations, man. All right, so we've got one more. Helena 717. Congratulations. Let me know if you're still here. And yes, I'm live. This is not pre-recorded. So I saw several people ask. I'm live every Friday in ChartFanatics. If you'd like to connect with me for more information as far as order flow trading and my trade setups and things like that, I share a ton of information on YouTube and Instagram. It's just Matt Owen Trades. Helena, there you are. Sweet. Congratulations, guys. Free accounts, hard to beat that. So we're coming back down towards these lows that have bounced 1, 2, 3 times. But, you know, in my opinion, when I start to see a range form like this and we bounce off of it a couple times, you know, great. I love to catch the scalp on it. But when we continue to build volume and heaviness at those lows, I get more and more hands off trying to like fade that extreme and just kind of wait to see, because the more times, right, we bounce off a level, right, and it fails to continue from there, the participants there are getting more and more exhausted. You know what I mean? So a lot of people will see like a double bottom form, you know, just pure price action, like technical analysis 101, and they want to go long the double bottom. But very good chance we either fake out and sweep below that, or we break below it, because right, we were watching the order flow to see this double bottom form in real time. And now that it's failed to gain continuation and we're, building heavier sell volume there, less and less high quality to continue to try it. Congratulations for the winners, guys. So zooming out here, just like on the charts, we've seen like one of the most continued sell-offs since back in April, March timeframe. So bearing that in mind, and we're kind of continuing to see heaviness on the tape and selling below that daily trend line, the low of that channel, right? So this is good information to carry with us into next week, especially seeing how today closes. That could be a continued shift in the market, right? We've been on a pretty hefty uptrend at all-time highs all year. But just bear in mind, we've seen some periods of selling, right? We've seen some quick drop days, but it's been a while since we've seen a period over a full week, couple weeks, and really since the second half of last week and this week, where we continue to see pops sold into, right? So that is kind of a changing market dynamic that I'm observing to see if that continues, and use that as context and information going into the next trading week to see what happens with that. And obviously we all probably have seen the posts. If you're not following like Market Journal, by the way, they post a lot of updates and stuff on there, but we got the big short, Michael Burry going short, Palantir and Nvidia with like 80% of his portfolio. You can be wrong a lot of times doing that, but I'm sure he had a lot of analysis and things going on the back end to take that position, right? And we have formed at least a near-term all-time high, and we've seen a continued sell-off over the last week and a half that we haven't seen in a while. So if you trade specific types of setups, depending on the conditions, you need to be aware of those things and when, conditions are shifting in the market, because certain setups that play very well when the market is very bullish might not play very well at all when the market's bearish or sideways, right? So you always, every single day, I start with doing analysis and coming up with key context to understand like what that dynamic is in the market and make sure I'm following with it and not fighting against it. Yeah, continuing to just see heaviness here at the lows. So in hindsight, obviously I was on the wrong side here, but in hindsight, seeing multiple failed pops over this high into these sellers this morning was a great short opportunity going back to the lows. I was looking for it to squeeze a bit higher back up here, but obviously now, with the benefit of hindsight, that setup was going against the momentum, exactly like I've talked about. We are having a lot of momentum to the downside this week. But it's okay. Identify it, understand what happened, protect yourself, manage your risk, and adapt to the next setup. So this is that area we were initially watching earlier. We could continue to bounce here, but honestly, guys, we're just building after seeing this pop fail, we're building way too much downside momentum. And if anything, I'd be looking more for the break and retest short down here. But it's probably one of my least favorite setups, to be honest with you guys, just because I've gotten burned on it so many times over the last year or two, trying to trade continuation shorts. But yeah, look at all this heavy selling. So exactly like I was talking about, you know, when we saw this area form earlier, we identified it clearly as a great scalp opportunity to go long. But this time coming into it, seeing this heavy selling just continue to crush through, and we saw this buying try to step in here. There's no activity from buyers here that would tell me at this moment, right? That could change, but at this moment, there's no activity here from buyers. Even though I'm seeing these bids, we're just crushing into it with heavy selling. I don't see anything here to go long, right? That could change, right? That could change, but to me, we've already bounced off this twice. We tried to double bottom off of it again. We could sweep the lows and we could pop again, but when we're just continuing to build heaviness at the lows like that, and the pops again failed at the opening range, tough to go against that. More aggressive buying stepping in though on the break of that low. We'll see if it fails here back under this area. So we had this area where we formed that first low. We'll see if sellers really have intent to really break down the lows today and continue lower. But sellers, in my opinion, would now want to really reject under this green box from earlier. Seller, and we see this, you can see this gap in the bubbles here where this volume is very low on that quick rally. That area I would want to see sellers reject under, right? Where this large selling was and where this kind of low volume area from earlier was, I would want to see sellers reject under there. Pretty large buying trying to pop back, but we'll see what happens if we pop back in there. Look where this pop got halted too, right? Where that heavy selling came in on the lows. And we see that offer sitting there, that passive seller, we popped back into it. So if we get a pop back up here, it'll be interesting to me to see if we again reclaim into that high volume area where we've kind of been going up and down today, or if we now reject. And this may have already been the rejection, but unless I see a pop up into there, it's hard to go short, right? Just in terms of risk versus reward. I'm like paranoid now. I keep looking at the top corner of the screen to see if my bookmap is delayed. I have like bookmap delay PTSD now. So a 347 lot negative positive delta just hit at 68.82s. So aggressive buyers trying to step in here, and we can see this over on the DOM here. But what I'd kind of be looking for at this point, just being that we've bottomed here multiple times, is that if we pop from that, if it fails, that could lead to, you know, another crush lower. That is some aggressive buying though coming in. All right, I like how that pop kind of fizzled there. We'll see what happens here if we see some large selling start stepping in. I'm trying a short here. Just targeting another continuation down. Short at 87.50. I'm giving it a little bit breathing room, just over 90 on that pop there. But I'd like to see this crush through the low. I'd like to see all this aggressive buying get trapped now. I like this. I'm gonna go break even again here at the 87s, 87.50. I don't want to see this turn into another squeeze higher. I want to see these buyers be trapped and us crush through the lows. If we can drop back into the 75s here, where we see this on the heat map, break the lows one more time and go down here to the 75s. I don't want to see this, form another bottom and squeeze back up again now. I'm being very, very tight with my risk on this, guys. There are times where I go break even immediately like this. I'm only up 4 points right now. I'm up 4 points on ES and I'm going break even, right? There are times where I'm a little bit wider, but in this instance, I want to see this pop fail and these buyers get crushed fast. And if they don't, then I'm not going to hold for a loss here. Because I'm looking for a break of the lows here. I don't want to see this recapture back above this zone here. So there's some heavy selling. I'm for sure, I've got a hard limit set for break even now at 87.50. Up 6 points. So I want to see this heavy selling now break these lows. If this heavy selling can't come in and break these lows and this aggressive buying squeezes back into this zone, then I'm not going to love the setup, right? We already got the pop into this zone with this aggressive buying. For continuation, I want to see, heavy selling drop this thing now. So if we can't break this down, then, we could see a good chance that we just continue to chop inside this range where we've built all this volume today. I'm looking for another expansion lower, getting late in the morning here on a Friday. But it's kind of one of those things, man. You get in a trade and you just got to kind of have a systematic way of managing it. For me, with this type of setup, the way I'm confirming it, it's going break even fast. You can see this low volume area that's sold from my entry now. So I'm either right or I'm wrong, and there's nothing I can do to control it. I just got to set it and try to forget it, watch it to manage it, right? But right now I've accepted it's either going to come back and stop me break even for a third time today, which would be annoying, but there's just days like that. It is what it is. Or it's going to drop and break these lows and pay me. There's nothing I can do to control that. I just got to kind of accept that I'm just playing the probabilities and I can't control the outcome. Is anybody else having issues with sound? Somebody said they can't hear. If we can get a nice heavy break of these lows, I'll look to cut this scalp. It's up 6 points. Here we go. Don't tick those lows and bounce on me. I don't love how that bid is sitting there and this thing is trying to bounce off of it. I want to see that get crushed. I want to see the heavy selling crush that low there. There's a lot of negative delta from aggressive sellers built there, 264 lots right at the low. Actually, cumulative, you can see 400 and something lots here. So far, it's holding kind of thick, and I'm feeling trigger happy to cut this thing because I'm up 7 points here. Again, just a little scalp, nothing crazy, but I like the heaviness. I just want to see it get smoked here. 1,300 lots now at the low. This thing has got to go. 1,300 lots here. Look at that negative delta at the low. There it goes. Whoa. It's got to go. Come on. 1,400 lots there. If this thing bounces now, then that obviously is a big buyer just buying the dip at the low a day. But man, that's a lot of aggressive selling. This thing has got to go. That happened so fast, I couldn't even flatten there. I'm still holding. I don't love that. I don't love how we're popping off that and not, selling through that with that aggressive selling. But NQ is really dying off. NQ is leading lower, which, I would want to see ES follow suit, right? ES, I'm just looking at the 15-minute on both ES and NQ looks relatively weaker. So I really want to see ES follow suit quickly here now. But seeing that massive delta, 1,300 lots, I'm looking at my footprint chart, 1,500 lots here, cumulative on the volume delta. I want to see this crush through here now. I don't want to see that bounce, right? If that bounces, then that's a large passive buyer absorbing there. When I see a lot of delta like that, I want to see that sell off from there. I want to see those sellers get rewarded, not trapped. I'm just trying to target these 75s down here. If we can just get a nice quick drop down there. You guys are seeing me sweat in real time, man. I mean, I shouldn't even be sweating because it's like break even or target, but I just hate how the selling is just dwindling here. Like I want to see some aggression come in and really drop this thing. And we're seeing all this negative delta just sit here, man. Don't love that. Don't love that. Again, there we go. There we go. All right, I'm all out for just ahead of my target there. I'm not going to hold through a quick, nasty relief bounce. I was up like 11 points there. So I got out I got filled. I tried to get filled at 75s. By the time my market exit hit, I got filled at 77. So 10 points. 10 points on like almost zero risk. I don't want to get I just hate how this is trickling down here. I'm up 10 points on just a couple point risk. It's like what was that? I was risking like 2.5 points. I was in at 87.50. I put my stop at like 90. So I was risking 2.5 points for 10 points there. Sierra chart. So you guys the fills, right? Real time, no hindsight analysis here. 87.50, I sold short as we dropped. My stop was just here at 90. There's my fill, 77. Live account. There we go, guys. 10 points on 2.5 risk. Who doesn't love that, right? Who doesn't love that? Yeah, it was a little scalp. Yeah, I was looking for this thing to drop heavier, but catching what is that? Almost freaking, I can't even do math. Where's my calculator? My brain is fried now, guys. It's 11 a.m. I've been doing this since 9. What's the calculator here? What's 10 divided by 2.5? I need TradeZella. I'll pull this into TradeZella and share a recap. So it's 4R, right? 4R in a couple minutes on a little scalp, right? Yeah, guys, there's always a delay on live streams on YouTube, right? So I'm trying to share the analysis with you. If you guys are trying to copy my trades, it's going to be very difficult to have exactly the same risk versus reward as me. But even still, right? Even with a delay, 4R, like you can be easily profitable even taking 1.5, 2R trades, right? So you don't have to be as sharp as I am with it. That comes with just time and experience. You don't have to be quite as precise as me. Yeah, that comes with experience. But what I'm really trying to convey with you guys is the analysis and why. Look at this zone. Remember I marked this zone all the way back here at like 9:38 a.m. in real time. I tried to catch it here. I had a really nice scalp. Unfortunately, I got swept out with that delay issue on Bookmap. But again, I didn't just throw in the towel and say, F this, right? I waited until we got new information. I took my break even. I waited until we got new information. And this information was still valuable to me, right? From the order flow that happened here and then the order flow that happened here, look where we reversed from. There's no coincidence, right? There's no coincidence. There's a lot of passive buyers sitting under the low of day here, so it's struggling to have a really fast drop. I was hoping, like my minimum target was just a drop under the low of day, right? And I caught that, right? That was the minimum target. I was hoping the bottom would just fall out of it and I would catch more, right? But I took my win when I had it because we broke the low of day. And you guys heard me talking. I did not love how we were building this massive negative delta here at the low of the day and not quickly selling off from it. So to me, real time reading the order flow, I'm thinking, who's on the other side of that? Okay, there's a large passive buyer sitting here absorbing at this low of day. I do still think we're gonna sell off from it, but I'm not willing to risk my 10 points of profit anymore, right? We hit my minimum target. I'm good with that. It's Friday. I want to go enjoy my day with my family. You know what I mean? I just made 10 points on 2.5 risk. I'm cool, right? As a trader, you have to get really okay with finding your repeatable setups, trading them, taking them, and then having no emotions about the FOMO of what you could have made, you could have, should have done it. Everybody can see a massive move happen and in hindsight being like, I wish I held that for $1 million. Well, guess what? Can't repeat that every day, right? I take my setups that I can repeat day in and day out. I get out at my targets. I go enjoy my day, right? So there it is, guys. Hopefully you guys got some value out of this, analyzing the order flow. We had to work for this one today, man. 2 break evens before it hit a 10-pointer for just a small risk, 4R. So had to work for this one today. It wasn't easy, but it never is. When it is, I like to make a lot, but still very, very good. Again, sometimes you get punched in the face a couple times. Can you come back from it and get punched in the face, still have good analysis and take a good trade, right? That's what we did today, right? We saw the analysis here on the zone. We saw buyers fail to break of it, and then we used that analysis to take a short into the low of the day. If you guys have questions on analysis, order flow, things like that, best way to reach me is on Discord in the ChartFanatics Discord or on Instagram. You guys can send me a DM there. I'm very responsive to people. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to wrap it up here. I will see you guys back next Friday. Lots of good traders will continue trading live on here throughout the week. So make sure you set alerts for the ChartFanatics YouTube live. And so you get alerts when traders are in here live. Pick setups and things that work for you and master it. Right? Thanks, everybody. It's been a great group here, and I'll see you guys back next Friday. Thanks, guys.